Welcome back to another edition of the Talking National League podcast, episode 8 tonight. It's a very special edition as we are going to be doing our official National League predictions. I say we, I am joined by Tom Williams tonight, currently works for Analyst Bar and is a Notts County fan. Thanks for agreeing to come on, Tom. Obviously open yourself up to a lot of criticism, I would think.
Yeah, potentially. People aren't going to be too happy with some of my predictions, I suppose. But you have to pick certain teams. There's obviously 4 have got to go down, and only 2 go up. It's the nature of the league. So, yeah, I'm excited to be on. Thank you for having me. I'm a bit nervous first time doing anything like this, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, it's great to have you on. And just based off your articles, for anyone that is watching, I would go and check them out. They're very detailed, and you do talk a lot of sense. You also have like databases like Y Scout and stuff on your side as well when you're doing these predictions. So you do know a lot about the league, I would say.
Yeah, I've tried to build my knowledge up over the summer, to be honest, going back through the last season, and especially with stuff like, say Y Scout, the data is really useful to help build my knowledge on it. So, yeah, it has really helped, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, before we do actually start our predictions, can I just say, and I know everyone will say this every time they do their predictions, don't take offence. I know you will. I know fans do. I do when I watch predictions. However, I wouldn't be doing these predictions if I wasn't expecting that. So I'm not going to say, oh, don't drop us an angry comment below. Just potentially just think before you put it. Think about what we've said. You know, I've done a lot of research on this. I also feel personally that I know quite a bit about the National League now, being a supporter of Halifax, which have been in non-league for a very long time, I have to say. And obviously Tom too joining me tonight. He's agreed to come on. You know, he knows a lot about the National League, I can say, with Y Scout and stuff on his side too, with eccentric data that they have. I think, just cause some slack potentially just when we are doing our predictions. And there are a few wild cards in there, which are teams that we think will do better than what the bookies or most people have expected, or even teams that have done worse than what most people expect. But, it's just a bit of fun. Hopefully we can get a few views on it and a few more subscribers. Yes, so finally, just before we do start, obviously this will be a premiere on Thursday. It's not actually live, as in we're not speaking as like you're watching. Drop a comment. I will be in the live chat as we are doing this. And if you are not watching live, drop us a comment actually below in the comments. Just your thoughts on the predictions. You can disagree if you want. Just do it in a nice way. It would be most appreciated. And that's more or less it. Yeah, finally though, just for any like new fans that have come, because I expect that with these sort of videos, you do tend to get a lot of new fans of different clubs joining us. I would appreciate if you do subscribe. Obviously, you might disagree with our predictions, but it would be most appreciated if you could subscribe, as we do other episodes too, looking into different sides. I invite different guests on. I've had Ollie Bayliss on last week. I had a Dorking Wanderers fan, York City fan. I try and look at every single league. And these are particularly a club for me that I dislike in this league. The sides that I have soft spots for, but there isn't really anyone I dislike. So, I'm hoping these predictions are fair and unbiased too. So, Tom, are you ready to go then?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Just get started in,
So we'll start with 24th then, which is we've both gone for Maidenhead.
Yeah. So for me, they weren't there. For me, this is a recent one off the back of Josh Kelly leaving. I did have them in the relegation zone anyway. I mean, people are going to disagree because everyone tips them for relegation every year, and every year they get out of it. But Josh Kelly's left, the best player. Haven't been too impressed with the transfer dealings. Nothing overly impressive, and there's semi-pro outfits. So there's only so much pot-on outfits can do to stay up. And I'm not sure Maidenhead have got what it takes. They're actually the closest team to me at university, so I'm hoping to get to the away game for Notts this season. So do have a bit of a soft spot for them. I hope they do well, but I just can't see it.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, I know everyone every season predicts Maidenhead to go down. I think just based off the size of the club, they shouldn't by right be here. Obviously, they should based off their progress over the last seasons. They have a great manager in Alan Devonshire, I have to say. He's done extremely well with the side. They've had some incredible players as well. But losing someone like Josh Kelly, 15 goals last season, I think he was probably that star man. I remember him when he came to Halifax. You always looked at him and you thought, wow, he's a class player. Losing him to Solihull just, I think, confirms to me that they are going to have a tough season. And the investment they have brought in, players like Kobe Arthur, yes, had a decent season at Dover, maybe in a slightly better Maidenhead side than the Dover side. He may be able to do something this season. players like defensively as well, who they've brought in from Oxford City, for example, Asara. Oxford City had the third best defence in the division below last season. I'm sure Zara could be a decent defender, but there's no signing for me that really stands out when I think of the players that they've lost that can sort of compensate for that, which is why I'm probably thinking that Maidenhead will go down this season compared to other clubs' business. Because, I look at other clubs' business, and Maidenhead are one of the sides I think definitely that's poor business for me, what they've done. Still got players like Kane Ferdinand with the club who did well last season, but even players like Ryan Shackelford going to Chesterfield, it just puts them in an even more vulnerable position heading into next season. So, sorry to Maidenhead fans. It'd be good to see you stay up again, but unfortunately, I think your time has come now to drop down into the National League South. So moving on to 23rd. Now, this is quite a shock from your point of view, I have to say, maybe even from mine as well, but you've gone for Yeovil.
Yeah, Yeovil, perhaps a bit harsh, but I think they've probably had one of the worst windows of any side. The only positive bit of business they have done is keeping hold of Knowles. Tom Knowles, he's obviously their star man, in my opinion. They've kept hold of him. But they've got a very young squad. I think the average age, I think they've got the second youngest squad I saw the other day. Hargreaves in charge, isn't he? He's obviously an experienced young manager. He's a very highly rated coach, but I'm just looking on their team on paper. To me, it doesn't look like a National League quality side. So I've just based it on that, really. That's a bit of a shock, but really not been very impressed with their business. They haven't really strengthened too well. And I think they're a side that's really going to struggle this season.
Yeah, I've gone for Maidstone. Then obviously they won the National League South last season. A big fan base, they're a big club at its level. Obviously, previously been in the Football League quite a long time ago now. They're another side that, investment-wise, players that they've brought in, none have particularly impressed me, I have to say. Obviously, you might think they've won the league last season. Do they really need to strengthen that much? But players like James Alabi, I think, is a good signing from Bromley. Had a decent season last season for Bromley. Players like Juan Luco, I think it is, the Spanish player, scored 20 goals for Maidstone last season, but he's never really done it at National League level. And that's something that I always look at. It's okay doing it in the National League South and National League North, but when you step up to the National League and your past experiences, there's no one that for Maidstone, even players like Sam Corn, Jack Burham, that have actually done it in the National League before. And that's why I think they may struggle next season. Even defensive players, Binny Williams, I think Maidstone had the best defence last season in the division below. However, it's a big step from the National League South, especially compared to the North, making it up to the National League. And I've seen Binny Williams in the past, unless he's improved massively, I can't see players like him being in the back line and having a successful season, unfortunately. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with that, but I think of the quality in this league and the investment that other sides have done, and I think of Maidstone, I just can't see them staying up, unfortunately. Moving on to 22nd then, I've gone for Wheelstone and you've gone for Dorking.
Yeah, Dorking, probably a bit of a side that you don't want to bet against. They do come against the odds a lot, and they've had a historic rise. I think it's 11 promotions in 20-something years. A very very quick rise through the lower leagues. Obviously, Mark White is there. He's the owner, the boss as well. And I think he's done a brilliant job. I just think that I always think that a couple of the newly promoted sides are going to go down. And I think Dorking perhaps are one that I've looked at. They do score a lot of goals, but whether they'll be able to continue like this season. And again, it's really tough down the bottom. There's so many teams down there that it's just so tough to pick a four. And unfortunately, there were one that they've come up. Potentially, they might go back down again. But they're probably an idiot to bet against them because they've proved everyone wrong before. So, knowing them, they'll stay up comfortably. But I've had to put them in there just based on squad quality.
Yeah, I've gone for Wheelstone, which I think might be surprised based off the investment they've done. Like, they're properly going for it, I have to say, this season. Additions like Max Kretschmark from Woking, had a good season last season, probably Woking's star man alongside the likes of Inni Young. Lewis Kinsell as well, coming from Aldershot. These are decent signings, I have to say. However, the one factor for me, and there's probably two as well that I will go on to in a little while, is the fact that Wheelstone are part-time. And I think you look at sides that are still part-time, even like Maidenhead, who I didn't really talk about them being part-time, but sides that are part-time, I think, will struggle this season with the divide in the league. Having them extra few days training, the whole setup and everything is crucial at this level, being a full-time outfit. So, yeah, I think Wealdstone will struggle. Josh Umwar also gone last season. He's a significant loss. There's no what else I can really say about him. I think he got 16 goals, if I'm correct, last season, and they replaced him with Olamalia, I think it is, from I think he's obviously signed. He was on loan at Yeovil last season, and he only got the one goal. You think of that, losing a player like Josh Umar, who's been scoring goals for Wealdstone for a number of years now, compared to this Omala, this new lad who only managed to get one goal for Yeovil last season. Is that going to compensate for the players, the losses of Josh Umar? Even like Tavares as well. He's gone to Dagenham. That's also quite a big loss, in my opinion, losing him. They've made some decent signings, but you're losing a goal scorer like Josh Umar compared to a player like Max Kretschmark who's come in. Does that really compensate for it? I do not think so. And I think at this level, and if you're wanting to survive in the National League and you're already quite a low downside, I'll probably say you need a goal scorer. And that's where I think Wealdstone will struggle next season, unfortunately. But hopefully they can prove me wrong for the Stone fans out there. Now we'll move on to 21st now. And this is the first one we've agreed with, Gateshead.
Yeah, Gateshead. Unfortunate, really, considering that Notts, the team I follow, have taken probably their two best players, and that is, or two best goal scorers, I should say. They have obviously other players in the squad that Gateshead fans might think are the best players, like Craig Ollie in midfield, but and Mike Williamson's a manager I really highly rate. His side scored, I think, 99 goals last season. But losing Langstaff and Kevin Scott, they've replaced them with Lewis Knight, who obviously played for Notts. Again, a promising player, but someone that's not scored tons of goals. And they've also Tom Allen from Newcastle, again, a player that's not really scored loads of goals before. They're both exciting, energetic forwards, but are they going to be able to get the goals that, the 50 goals that Langstaff and Scott put on between them? I'm not sure they will. And Williamson's very much an attacking coach, despite the fact he's a centre half himself. So I think if they're not got the goals in their side, they're going to struggle. And so that's why I think they might just face the drop.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I have to say, like losing someone like Stephen Scott and Langstaff heading into the National League, like I've previously mentioned, you need a goal scorer down. Losing them two, who got 52 goals between them last season, that's so significant. And the replacements that they've had, the likes of Aaron Martin, Lewis Knight coming in as well, are they at the same standards as what those two were and what they could potentially have done in the National League? I do not think so. My experiences and my opinion on Aaron Martin when he was at Halifax, he was a decent striker, but he never looked like he was going to be prolific. And at a side like Gateshead, who've just come up to the National League, obviously previously been in the National League, and a few years ago, due to financial troubles, they went down. Do I think that they can establish themselves back in the National League now? No. Losing players like that, and even players in the midfield like Jack Hunter to Halifax, who I think was a key part of their success last season. They've still got an all-round good squad, but like I've said, losing 52 goals in a side from the previous season is definitely not going to have a good impact on the side, I have to say. So we've moved on. We'll move on now to 20th. I think both were a bit of a shock, to be honest. You've gone for Scunthorpe, and I've gone for Eastleigh. Why have you gone for Scunthorpe?
This is based on just the sort of going on behind the scenes at the club in a bit disarray, to be honest. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too much details. I don't know the ins and outs of Scunthorpe fans are better placed on that. But they took an absolute hammering last season in League Two, and I think their fans are expecting them maybe to drop into this league and it'd be a lot easier. But as we know, it really is not an easy league to get out of the National League. And their squad, looking at it, there's just no one that jumps out that looks like a good higher end National League level player. I've not put them down for the drop because I think their home form will, they have a sort of the atmosphere at home to keep them up in the home support. But they've got players like Jai Rowe at right back. He's a decent right back, and they brought in a couple of experienced operators at the level, obviously, as well. Butterfield is quite a marquee signing in midfield. but I'm not sure they've got the goals in them to propel them towards a mid-table finish. So I think they'll be in for a shock this season, Scunthorpe. I really do.
Yeah, I look at Eastleigh then. They had quite a poor season last season, I have to say, for their standards. When you look at them they've been battling at the top for a number of years now. Quite a good example of a side rising up and being quite high up in the National League. Competing in the playoffs for many seasons. The losses that they've had though from last season, who, don't get me wrong, they struggled anyway, but losing players like Danny Whitehall, 11 goals, he's departed. Harry Pritchard didn't get too many goals, only the 6, but was a key part of their success. Not success, but part of their survival in the National League. Players like Sam Smart as well, promising player, he's departed to Halifax. Kev Miley as well, going to Southend. It just doesn't look too good. And the replacements that they've had, for example, Tristan Abrahams, did okay for Grimsby last season. Got a few goals, but is he going to be prolific? Which, like I mentioned, I think you need. I don't think he will. Even players like Omar Cisse seems to be that sort of, like you mentioned, marquee signing. Is it significant enough to keep them in the league compared to the losses? I don't think so. Christian Mahoma as well, a good signing, I have to say, for them. But like I've mentioned, they've lost like Boyce as well, who's gone as well. I think he's departed. It might even be Scunthorpe he's actually gone. So I think they're going to struggle, and especially with things going on off the field with the Eastleigh chairman sacked for betting, basically. I don't think it's going to be a good season for them, I have to say. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually get relegated, which I'm sure is quite a shock from a lot of people. But yeah, I just can't see a good season for Eastleigh, unfortunately. So moving on to 19th then. I've gone for Dorking Wanderers and you've gone for Eastleigh.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to echo your sentiments there. What you said was pretty much spot on. I think Magoma, who's coming at centre-half, well, he's not coming. They've made his loan permanent. He's a great signing. I think they've got some creativity going forwards, like Jake Asketh in midfield. If they can get him in a more advanced role, has that ability to be creative. But you've pretty much hit the nail on the head there. I've had them a little bit higher because I think they're a little bit more solid, and they did it again last season. But I think they will be flirting with relegation. And like you say, I won't be surprised if they went down. I don't think it's too much of a shock that you put them down there. I think they are one of the sides that they could be in trouble. But I think they've had some okay additions. And as I say, Magoma coming in at centre-half. They've also got Joe McDonald back from Solihull, who was the keeper. I think he's a very good goalkeeper at this level. So, but yeah, I think they'll be down there. I think you're right where you put them 20th, 19th, around there.
Yeah, I've gone for Dorking then. To be honest, I do want them to succeed. They're a brilliant club, I have to say. They've contacted me on social media before, which is great. But it's not just that, to be honest. It's not just the fact that I want them to succeed. Look up the rise of where they've come from. 11 promotions, I think you said. That you've just mentioned about where they've come from. Mark White, wow, what a manager he's been as well. Doing things behind the scenes as well for Dorking. They've had some good investment as well. I've seen. But I don't know if anyone's seen the Bunch of Amateurs series, but that's great. I think it's well worth a watch. But yeah, based off the signings that they've made, Dorking, they've kept the majority of the squad together. Obviously, the exception of Odolakia has gone to Chesterfield, which I think might be a big loss based off the Bunch of Amateurs series. It was a good midfielder for them. But the players have brought in, for example, Adam Mecke, add experience to the side. He's been in the National League before. He's had experiences in the National League. In the midfield's a decent replacement for me. Ebbsfleet. Players like Cal Rushford, 29 goals last season, and he's also proven at this level as well. He got 15 goals for Havington and Waterloo when they had a spell in the National League too. Yeah, and like I've mentioned, Mark White, a quality manager. Even players like Ryan Seeger, they've brought him from Hungerford, 27 goals.
Yeah.
Might not be able to sort of bring it up to the National League and get that many goals, which is very unlikely. However, it's another addition, and it adds depth and it adds goals if needed, and that's why I think Dorking will survive in the National League. I think it'll be a tough season for them. Well, tough as in, I don't think that it'll be smooth and sailing. I think they will be flirting with the relegation zone during the season. However, I think they will just have enough to survive. Like I mentioned, the additions they've got, players like Cal Rushford as well on the side, is probably enough for me for them to survive and stabilise themselves in the National League. So heading into 18th now that we've both said. This is a shock, I have to say, from your point of view. You've gone for Oldham.
Yeah, it's perhaps me being sceptical of League Two clubs dropping down. There's another side that I've looked at, and League Two quality for me isn't particularly great at the top of the National League quality. You look at sort of the top end. Stockport have gone up, and people are tipping them to go up again. Same with Grimsby. Grimsby are up there in people's predictions. I just think the quality in the National League is potentially higher. So, Oldham dropping down, there's no one really that jumped out to me that looked like a great player, to be honest. They've brought in a couple of good players, but I think they'll, again, it's just one of those sides that's going to be, they're going to drop it down to this league. Happened to Southend last season, the shock of adjusting, and another side that hasn't got the best sort of things going on behind the scenes. That's been resolved now, but yeah, I think just the shock of the drop will mean they're going to be down there. That's the simple answer for it.
Yeah, I've got them a bit high up, I have to say. Oldham, I won't spoil it, but I've gone for Yeovil. I was actually on the Glovers. I was on like a Twitter space last night with the Glovers cast, a Yeovil podcast, and they seemed to be quite optimistic about the season. They didn't really know what was going to happen. Obviously, there's a few issues off the field that are going on at Yeovil at this moment in time. They struggled last season for goals significantly, and the players that they've brought in, they've very much added, strength going forward. I have to say they've invested highly in that, but defensively they've always been strong. Players like Wilkinson, he's left the club. I think he's gone to, is it Woking or is it Dagenham? It's either one. Wilkinson's gone to. He was a good midfielder for them last season. They've still got players like Knowles, who was probably their standout player last season. I think he won Player of the Year in that attacking sort of role for Yeovil. But players like Ollie, I think it's Ulbert, it is a French player from Bristol. Will he sort of have enough to be scored, be that sort of main striker? Players like Linton, he's not probably standout signing for me. When I look at this, I think, that's a good signing. He's come from Wickham, previously being on loan at Kings Lynn. I like the look of that side, and I think he could be, have a great impact on the side heading into next season. He'll add goals. He's young. He's hungry. Strength. He's got everything, and I think players like that, potentially, like I've mentioned, even like Alex Fisher coming back from the side, 32 years of age. He's come from Newport. They may finish high. This may be one that I will admit I might slip up on. I think a lot of people have said that Yeovil will finish very low down. I'm going to agree at this moment in time. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Yeovil did have sort of an okay season for them, because obviously, as we know, no Yeovil fan wants to come to the end of the season, see 18th. Even the manager like Chris Hargreaves, he's unproven at this level. That's another reason. However, he seems to know what he's talking about based off, BT, where he's previously been. But yeah, like I've mentioned, I don't think any Yeovil fan would be happy finishing 18th. But I was doing my predictions the other day, and like, where could I put Yeovil higher? Yeah. And I couldn't, and that's the hard thing. But like I've mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if Yeovil did finish a lot higher up than this. So yeah, moving on to 17th now. You've gone for Maidstone, and I've gone for Aldershot.
Yeah, Maidstone, you had them down the relegation. I completely understand why. But I was sort of sticking to my guns when I saw their squad that got promoted. I think it's full of quality players who've got decent experience. Gavin Hoyt, I think he's an ex-Arsenal youth, 32 years old. He's been down there, been around for ages. Jerome been on Williams at left back, another really experienced player. He's massive as well, and he's a real aerial threat. And as you said, Johan Luque as well up front. Another exciting player, a bit older, 30 years old, I think he is now, the Spaniard, but again, got loads of goals last season. I just think they've got quite a lot of quality in the side, and I've just stick to my guns. I've got a feeling they're going to do all right this season. I think 17th. I couldn't really put them any higher, but yeah, I think they're an okay side. Well, they're a good side. They were a good side last season. I think they have what it takes to adapt to the league, but I think they'll be around 17th, around mid-table, got lower end of it.
Yeah, like I've previously mentioned, they're a big side, Maidstone. You look at the attendances they get. They certainly are, match for the National League based off things off the field as well, fan base, everything. However, you look at the quality, and I just don't think when I look at their previous experiences in the National League and the investment that they will do too well. But yeah, moving on to Aldershot then. the start of the window, it looked like very good sort of investment. The finances they were using to bring in players, the transfers, I should say, like sort of Inny Effingham, he's quite an interesting and quite a weird move, I have to say, leaving Woking, who were obviously arch rivals with Aldershot to join with Woking to join Aldershot. 13 goals he got last season. He's proven before that he can score at this level. Previously, been likes of Dover. Notts County, it didn't really work out for him, and this is the one thing that may go wrong at Aldershot. Will he work in the system that Mark Mosley likes to play? That's what I'm unsure about at the moment. But yeah, if he can get off to a good start, get a few goals, I think it will be enough to secure Aldershot into 17th. I wanted to put them higher at first when I looked at that, but the investment that they've got and the players that they've bought in, apart from Inny Effingham, don't seem to be too good, and that's why I probably still put them low down. Joe Partington from Bromley is a good addition, but is it significant enough to try aim for Aldershot to go higher? I don't think it is overall the investment, and that's why I've put them lower mid-table, unfortunately, for them. So moving on to 16th then, you've gone for Wealdstone and I've gone for Altrincham.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier the recruitment of Wealdstone. Yeah, they've done brilliantly, I think, and Kretschmar from Woking is a really top signing, and Kinsella as well from Aldershot, and that's mainly why I put them there. And Olamola, who came in from Hartlepool, I may have pronounced that wrong, he got 1 goal last season, but Umara, who left, also got 1 goal before he joined Wealdstone. So we've seen what they can do with strikers that are low scoring before. So I think, bringing in a striker, replacing him, it might not be as difficult as it may appear on paper. Of course, it's a big loss, but I think they've really recruited really well. So that's why I put them up there. I had them initially down in the relegation places, but after the signs they've made, I had to put them a lot higher up.
Yeah, but I think that was the same with me. I firstly saw the 2 signings in Kretschmar and Kinsella as well, and I thought, that's instantly going to put them a lot higher up. But then I looked at it in the long run. I looked at him on paper as a full side, and I looked at the loss of Joshua Unwin. It sort of secured for me to put them in the relegation places. I've gone for Altrincham, recently gone into the full-time module. Quite fascinated to see the journey of what Altrincham can do going into that full-time module. They've historically been a non-league side, been in the National League, been in the lower leagues of non-league. It's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to see an instant impact in them riding up the table so far, although they've made some quite interesting, good, solid signings, the likes of Josh Lundstrom, obviously coming from Crawley, an established Football League player. They've brought in a lot of players, who established themselves in the Football League, but unfortunately now, have been released, been left by the club, by their parent clubs who they've departed from. And I just think now, even like Dan Mooney, Luke Ferguson's obviously gone to Harrogate. I just think now with the players that they've brought in, I don't think they're going to replace the players that they've lost and have an instant impact on them rising up the table compared to other sides' investments in the league. Players like Matty Coslow are still there. Wow, he's a quality player based on what I've seen him at Halifax before. Ross Barrows has come from Kings Lynn. Jordan Hume's quite a fan favourite, I believe, there. Even players coming in like Cooper from Rotherham, he's a good player too. They've made some interesting signings, Altrincham. I like the business they've done. Is it good enough to warrant a place heading up and trying to aim for players, which I believe something that Altrincham will be inspiring to do in the near future? I don't think it is next. One thing finally, though, I will say is Phil Parkinson, what a quality manager. I think he's the best Phil Parkinson, I have to say, in this division. I prefer him to the Wrexham manager. I think a lot of Wrexham fans will disagree with that. But yeah, he's a quality manager. I think he was also linked with the Notts County job, wasn't he, earlier?
He was, yeah. But apparently turned it down, supposedly. So he obviously believes in the project at Altrincham. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Altrincham do this season, but I can't see really a significant impact. They came 14th last season. I don't think 16th would be disappointing for them. I think it'd just be another season in the National League, which I think is what Altrincham are wanting at the moment. But yeah, they will be inspiring to try and get further up the table. Moving on to 15th then. I've gone for Scunny and you've gone for Aldershot.
Yeah, well, you've touched on Aldershot already. They had a really good start to the transfer activity. Effiong came in 13 goals last season, as you said, at Woking, and he's guaranteed if he starts. He didn't really start at Notts a lot. He's sort of a plan B option, but Aldershot, if he starts week in week out, he will be it'll get double figures. And you look at the side they already had. They got Tommy Willard as well, exciting young winger, and they brought in some good additions across the board. And I just think that they look like a solid mid-table outfit. Maybe a team that a lot of people have near the bottom, and they were down there last season. But I think they'll have a more solid, consistent season this time around. I think F. Young wouldn't leave Woking if he didn't for Aldershot if he didn't believe there was a good project there going on. And I think they've got something good going on at Aldershot, and I think more of a mid-table stability this season.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Based off Scunthorpe, then what they've done. At first, I looked at Scunthorpe and I looked at them having one of the lowest point totals in the League Two. Sorry, I should say, coming down to the National League. I thought, you know what, players they've brought in have been poor. Losing like Hippolyte, who obviously was on loan at Stockport last season. I thought I can actually see Scunthorpe going down. I actually had a Scunthorpe fan on a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. For any Scunthorpe fans watching, and he wasn't too confident. He thought it was reasonable and okay for me to say that I'd put Scunthorpe in the relegation zone. He wasn't shocked by that, which is quite concerning. However, they've gone up a lot of places since then, in my opinion, based off the signings they've brought in. Elliot Whitehouse and Forest Green previously got promoted with Grimsby back in 2016. That's a quality signing, in my opinion. Jacob Butterfield, like you mentioned, a marquee signing from St Johnson. This is experience in the midfield. It shows strength and it shows that they are bringing in good players too. Andrew Boyce as well from Eastleigh. He's a strong centre half. Keith Hill as a manager as well. He got promoted with Barrow. There's a lot of players, I think, for Scunthorpe that will be good for them next season. And I think mid-table for them, I can probably see that. I think it'll take a couple of games to adjust. They've got quite a tricky start to the National League, and we've seen it most sides when they come down to this league. Southend, other sides in this league, even at I think Grimsby actually started running. Sorry, I should say, but obviously Southend last season, it took them quite a number of months even to adjust to the National League. It's a decent squad, I would say. It's good enough for the National League, but yeah, I think it's gonna take a bit of a while for them to adjust. But yeah, I think Scunthorpe is just about stabilising this season, and hopefully in the near future they can try and aim to get back into the Football League like we're seeing Southend and Notts County and other big sides do now in this league. So yeah, moving on to 14th then. We've agreed on this one, Torquay United.
Yeah, Torquay, a side that maybe perhaps their fans will want to finish higher. They did beat Exeter recently, won there in a friendly, who were League One. But Gary Johnson's had to totally rebuild the squad, and they brought in a lot of young players, a lot of younger players, and I think they haven't got the youngest average squad at the moment. I think it's 23.7 years old. Sort of stuff. I think that's right. The average age, so it's a very young team, inexperienced. They've lost loads of key players: Lemony Evans, Joe Lewis, Armani Little. Obviously, they lost Carl Cameron the season before. McDonald in goal as well. So just all really, probably people would say star players. They've lost pretty much all of them. So, and Ben Winter as well to Barnet. So yeah, I think they have got a big rebuilding job this season. I think they'll do well to finish mid-table, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. Torquay, they're aside for me. I know we've got quite a few Torquay listeners who do regularly drop into the podcast, so I do apologise for this placement of your squad. But I look at Torquay and I want them to succeed. I do. I looked at how poor and how upsetting that must have been to have been knocked out of the playoff final, which we're still talking about when it happened over a year ago now. But yeah, losing that and the players they lost that season were significant. I think I predicted them to come 15th. They did surpass that, so I'm hoping that they will do better than this season. But the players that they've lost this season have Connolly Evans, what a player he was. Armani Little, good player, standout season for them. Like you've mentioned, they lost Carl Cameron the previous season. How can they cope with losing these players season after season? And I look at the players that they've brought in, and they're not good enough for me to surpass this and try to get a higher place and aim for the playoffs, which is something that Torquay want to do. They want to one day get back to the Football League. I think Gary Johnson's the right man to do it. However, is he being backed with the players that he's bringing in? I do not think so. And I think he will be frustrated with the players that they've lost. The one standout signing for me is Corey Andrews, 9 goals on loan at Aldershot from Wimbledon last season. I think Torquay this Torquay side still left the remains, and the players that they've brought in, the youth that they've brought in, are still good enough, a better side than that Aldershot side. And I think Corey Andrews can have, a big impact on them playing more games than he did last season at Torquay. So I think he'll probably be one to watch out for at Torquay next season. However, I just don't think it's going to be too much of a successful season for them, unfortunately. Yeah, hopefully they prove me wrong. So moving on then, I think we are on to 13th now. I'm quite disappointed with this one, but I can see why. You've gone for Halifax and I've gone for Barnet.
Yeah, I can only apologise for this one. Just lost so many key players. Again, like Torquay, lost so many key players. I'll let you talk about them later on. Obviously, it's your side, but lost so many key players and the top man. So, you lost Wild. You did brilliantly to finish fourth last season, but losing Waters' goals, the ability in the defence. It was only really Johnson in goal that's remained. So yeah. So not ideal. Not ideal at all. So he has such a brilliant defence. That's what it's built on. We now got all different personnel in there. So I hope we do finish better than 13th. But it's just because of the key personnel you've lost.
Yeah, I can see why, to be honest. I think if I want a Halifax fan, I'd possibly even put them even lower based off this. We've kept a few players for now, but apparently they're going to be leaving in the next week or so, according to sources, even to Huddersfield, I have to say. They're apparently being rumoured with one of our centre-halves. Yep. I will talk a little bit more on that when we do move on to Halifax in a little while. But I've gone for Barnet. Now, Barnet's been quite a bit of a restructure, and they've sort of reformed the whole squad, I have to say, with losing players. As you know, for the past 2 seasons, Barnet have underperformed significantly, I have to say. I think Adam Marriott was a good player last season, but there wasn't too much quality, I think is the right word, in there, and the players that they had were good enough for them to try aim for a playoff spot, which is something that Barnet, another side, they do want to aim for a playoff spot, like Halifax, like Torquay. But can I see him doing it with them, like the restructure of the side and so many players that they've brought in? No, I think it's going to take time for them to adjust. I think the players that they have brought in, though, are quality. Adam Marriott's a big loss for them, but players like Kabambi coming in from Northampton, it excites me, that signing. I think I'm going to be interested to see how he did. He only got 3 goals for Woking last season, but as we know, it doesn't really mean all. Ben Winter's a quality signing from Torquay. Lowe's is an exciting winger from Woking, likes to take players on, and they've kept probably the better players of last season, like Mason Clark, who's a good player for them, still at the side. Players like that, they've kept the good players from last season, apart from Adam Marriott, who's obviously gone. They've kept the sort of standout players from last season, added to that with greater depth. Harry Pritchard, a great player, had quite a poor season last season, probably for his standards, but he was in quite a weak Eastleigh side. Dean Brennan as a manager, I think, he's a quality manager for me, and I think it's going to take time for them to adjust with a new squad. It's a new squad. They're going to struggle at first, I think, but I think after a number of weeks, I think they'll strengthen, and I think mid-table for me would probably be a little disappointing for Barnet's standards, but I think it's okay for now, and hopefully the season after they can try push even further and try get higher and higher up the league as they proceed further into the future. One other thing I will say, though, is they've lost that goal scoring sort of in Adam Marriott. Is Kabambi going to be? He excites me, but is he going to be significant enough for them to try aim for the playoffs? I don't think so, personally. Moving on to 12th then. You've gone for York and I've gone for Oldham.
Yeah, York, a lot of people are really excited about them because they've brought in so many good players, and I think they have brought in so many exciting players. And you look at the squad on paper, it probably is a playoff squad. I just haven't gone for it because it is basically a brand new squad. Like, they got promoted last season. Not that many players have remained. They lost Jameson in goal, who's a brilliant keeper, but they've replaced really well, and they've added some really, really quality players. I just think that for a whole squad to blend together, it's going to take time, and that's why I've gone for mid-table. I think they've got on paper they've got a playoff quality squad, but perhaps not going to gel together quite so quickly.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll move on to York in a little while, but Oldham, about 5 years ago, the players that they bought in, I would say, yeah, Oldham will get playoffs definitely, but now, I don't know. Likes of Liam Hogan, he's an experienced centre-half coming from Stockport last season. He wasn't good enough, though, for Stockport to keep him, obviously, Stockport. The players they've got rid of, Jordan Keane, he's come to us. Players like that, they've got rid of, which shows their project at Stockport. So I think it's a good signing for them. He's good at National League level, could probably play in the Football League. Captain, he has got a mistake in him, I will say that. He's been at Halifax in the past. Francis Angle from Hartlepool seems to be a decent signing, a decent player to fill. Lewis Maynard is a good player. They're all sort of older. That's the thing I will say. They're all sort of getting more experience, which obviously you need. They know the National League off the back of the hand. But their ability, are they going to slow one up, the reactions, everything like that. Players like Lewis Maynard, Liam Hogan, even like Michael Fondup, who's been in this league for many years, had about 3 years out of the league. He's proven himself, but he's also gone. He's a lot older now. Is he going to be that same sort of player that's going to be able to bag them 10+ goals? I don't know. And I think it's going to be an interesting season for Oldham. I'm quite interested by the signings. They seem to be quite interesting, but are they going to be successful? I am not too sure. Tom, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I dropped out.
No problem whatsoever. I just thought you'd disconnected. But yeah, John Sheridan is also a likeable manager too by the Oldham fans. But like I said with Scunthorpe, it's going to take time to adjust. I think they've got a bit more quality than what Scunthorpe have coming into this division. I think they're a little bit more prepared, did their business a lot earlier, brought in experienced players. But will they be able to aim for the playoffs? I think it's something they're wanting to do, but I don't think they'll succeed. And I think a 12th place finish for them seems more suitable and sustainable. Moving on to 11th then now. You've gone for Barnet and I've gone for York.
Yeah, you touched on it quite well. I'm a big fan of Dean Brennan. I think he's done a brilliant job. And he speaks really well. I've been really impressed as the Bees pod interview with him. I'm really impressed with how he spoke there. I thought they've brought in some really, really good players. Sean Shields, creative midfielder from Weymouth. Obviously, Ben Winter, huge marquee signing for them. Off the Line blog rated him as the best signing so far of the National League. So, they've done something right with that one. And I think they're just brought in some really good players. And as you said, Marriott's goals perhaps are the biggest miss and why they're not going to make the playoffs. But it's for me a mid-table finish. I think they'll be happy with that. As you mentioned, Mason Clark as well, very briefly, one of my favourite players in the league. Such an exciting player to watch. But yeah, I've gone for mid-table for Dean Brennan's side. But I'm a side I'm going to be keeping a close eye on and try and watch them a few times this season.
Yeah, York for me then 11th. A lot of people are stating that York are going to be like playoff contenders. I don't think so. I'm impressed by the business they've done. It's a big transition, very similar to like Barnet, them coming into the National League, and they've brought in so many new players. Losing the likes of is it right? Akolali White has gone to Stockport, which is quite a big loss. But I think of the players that they are doing, they're sort of rebuilding. I like John Askey as a manager based off what he did last season. They just got promoted. Quite a good story, that finishing low down in the playoffs. It was sort of that big club sort of playoff experience, having quite a poor season for their standards when you think of the size of the club coming low down in the playoffs, but then managed to get promoted anyway. Yeah. Players like Manny Duku got 7 goals last season for Waterlooville. He's done well in pre-season. Scott Bowden, 11 goals for Bournemouth. However, he's, like I've mentioned with most strikers, he's getting on a bit. He's not prolific, I would say. I think that's the correct word. Defensively, I think they'll be fine. Players like White's coming, Kerr, obviously coming from Winter, I should say. Kerr coming from Chesterfield. Burgess has come from Grimsby, a young, hungry player. Ryan Facklefield as well. He's come from Harrogate. He's a good player, got promoted with them. But I think they're going to lack goals, although they're brought in like Scott Bowden and Manny Duku. I don't think they're prolific, and unfortunately, I don't think York will be able to push for the playoffs due to the lack of goals. And I think 11th won't be too poor for them. Now, stabilise yourselves in the division, and I'm sure in the upcoming years they can try and aim to get back to the Football League. So moving on to 10th then, we've agreed with Woking. Now, I know we've got a few Woking fans who do listen to the podcast, so I think you'll probably say this is disappointing considering the investment that you've had. But yeah, Tom, I'll allow you to elaborate on Woking.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll think the same. But Woking, actually the away game I went to last year, I went to Woking away for Notts last season, and I thought they were far too easy to beat at home, but they've really added some quality this season again. And one of the sides that I think have probably been the best in the transfer window, to be honest. But I'll let you talk about the individual players. But Amond is going to be one that I think could bag a lot of goals this season. F Young left, they lost Kabamba, who was on loan as well, I think. So it needs some more goals, and they've added that. And the manager as well. So he's a really good coach, and they've got an exciting project there. I think 15th, I think, the last season, around 15th. So adding 5 places onto that will be pretty good going for a side that were a little bit easy to beat at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone. Obviously, I agree with you on there, but Padre Gamond, 30 goals he got during the 14-15 season. One thing I will add, 34 years of age.
Yeah, he is.
It's like I've mentioned with Fonda, previous to when he was with the club, late 20s to mid 30s, he's going to be able to score as many goals. I doubt that. And losing Inny Effing Young, whatever you say, Woking fans will probably dislike him now for him leaving. Losing him is bad. It is definitely bad. And although you've invested well, which I think you have on paper invested well, Padre Gamond, 34 years ago of age, got 3 goals last season for Newport in the division above. I don't think he's going to do as well as everyone is expecting him to. So, yeah, I think Woking won't have a successful season what they're expecting. Defensively, I've been very impressed. Sid Nelson from Northampton, good solid centre-half from what I've heard. Luke Wilkinson from Yeovil had a very good season with Yeovil last season. Defensively, I think they'll be very strong. Players like Danny Salas, manager, is a very good. He had a good season last season with them when he came in from Yeovil. I like him as a manager, but I don't think Woking will do as well as what everyone's expecting him to. So unfortunately for them, I think 10th is a more realistic sort of placement for them, in my opinion. 9th then. I've gone for the Shaman, Halifax, and you've gone for Altrincham. I think this is your wild card, I think I'd have to say.
Yeah, I initially had them in the playoffs, which was a complete wild card, but I had to reconsider and I had to drop them down a little bit. Maybe I should have stuck to my guns a little bit on that one. But just a massive fan of Phil Parkinson, what he's doing there. I think they've got a great project. They're building a squad that plays good football. They've got some really talented players there. They've managed to keep hold of Toby Malarkey, which is huge. He's been linked with Chesterfield quite heavily. Unless I've missed that one the last couple of days, he's gone. I'm pretty sure they've kept hold of him, and they've got some exciting players. I do think they're a good side. They added his name eludes me, a winger from the Football League. They've added a couple of Football League quality additions.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be ones to watch this season. They're my little dark horses, to be honest. I'm hoping they can sneak into the playoffs. Because that's what I initially had them down for. So, yeah, they're my dark horses, I would say.
Yeah. I can sort of see why, like, when they first, because they did their business very early and going into the full-time module, I thought, Alte, they could be a bit of a dark horse this season. But I looked at other sides' business, and this is something that I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
The business in this league, the transfer business has been so good, even from Halifax's perspective. I'll move on to them. Has been great this season. Considering the players that we've lost, I think we've done very well to bring in the players that we have. But Altrincham, I look at the strength in this league now. I don't think they're going to do as well as like you've mentioned. But yeah, people saying they're going to get relegated. I very much doubt that with the players they've brought in. Halifax, then my club, the Shaman. I don't really need to talk too much about the players we've lost. Everyone knows it. Everyone's expecting us to be mid-table, lower mid-table. I think I've seen 1 or 2 people tipped us for the playoffs. I'm not going to say that because I'll like to be wrong on this instance, coming 9th. I predicted them in the playoffs last season. They came 7th, and I mean I predicted them 7th and they came 4th. But 9th this season for me. They've kept hold of Jesse Deborah, Kane Spence. I don't want to jinx it. They're still with us for now. Jesse Deborah, wow, he's a I don't want to talk about him because I'm worried a journalist might watch this. But Jesse Deverell, wow, what a player he is as a centre half. He was I think the best of the 3 centre halves we had last season. I think he was just a lot younger and a little less in the spotlight, I think I would say. However, I think a lot of people have rumoured that he's going to leave. Jordan Slew still with us, good player on his day, quite inconsistent. However, when he's on form, he's a good player, he's a game changer, I would say. Matty Warburton, everyone knows about him, quality attacking midfielder. Players we've brought in, have been decent. Players like Jordan Keane, experienced at this level. We're linked with Sam Minihan as well from Stockport, another good player. Jamie Stott. Even players like Capello. No one's heard of him. No one watching this has, but coming from Sheffield Wednesday's youth system, could be an interesting one. I think a bit of a replacement for Waters. I think the big loss for me has to be losing Kieran Green. I think we'll struggle to replace him, and of course losing Billy Waters. It's very, as everyone knows, losing a 20 goal scorer in this league, replacing him with someone like Capello, who is unproven, young, hungry. I don't think it's going to be enough for us to sort of get in the place. I think we'll flirt with him, but I just think for me, I don't think it'll be enough. Manny Desaru as well, good player, but I just can't see too many goal scores. I've been to a few pre-season friendlies, and for me, I don't think we're good enough to sort of get in those top 7, unfortunately. Moving on to 8th, then we've agreed again. We've gone for Boreham Wood.
Yeah, again, just missing out on the playoffs. I had them in there a few times. I've changed that playoff spot. That top 8 is so tough, and Luke Garrard's done a brilliant job there. They're such a tough team to beat. They're so good defensively. Got one of my favourite players in the league, Jacob Mendy at left back. They've added Dion Kelly-Evans at right back. Added some goals up front as well. Entolovu and Elliott as well from Boston. So they've added where they need to strengthen. They needed to replace the right fullback who left. They need to get some goals up front. Bowden left as well. But I just think they're gonna just fall short. I mean, they had that brilliant cup run as well last season. But as I say, just think they're gonna just fall short. It's so tough because I think there's 8 teams in this division who could generally. Any of those 8 could drop out. Well, maybe not any of them. Maybe there's 4 or 5 that could drop out, and I've just had to Boreham Wood.
Yeah, for me, Boreham Wood then. I've picked them because, like you've mentioned, 8 just out of the playoffs. Last season, they were strong for probably the first 4 or 5 months, and then the cup run sort of increased, like media attention. They were playing more games. They were behind on league games, which didn't help. They had games in hand. And, you'd rather have points on the board, in my opinion, than games in hand. And it sort of proved to be their downfall, that cup run in the long run of their season with depth and everything like that. They had that lack of depth with fitness. And I think it was a distraction for them last season off the league. However, this season, they don't have a cup run like that, which I will very much doubt. I still think they won't get the place just because of the strength of this league this season. But they're always a solid side. Luke Garrard as a manager, I'm very much like him. He's been a great sort of manager at Boreham Wood for many years now. Dion Kelly-Evans as well from Notts County. So you probably know a bit more about him than me. It seems to be okay. I think you're quite likeable.
He's not great. He's okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. I disliked him when he played Halifax. But yeah, Danny Newton from Solihull, he could be a good striker. He's been like Jimmy Vardy's V9, proven it in the past. He can score goals, but hasn't for many years got into double figures. Danny Elliott, there's a standout signing for me from Boston, 30 goals. Bournemouth's sort of weakness has always been goals. They've always been very strong defensively, but Bowden's only got 11 last season. Someone like Danny Elliott, for me, quite young. I think Bournemouth will score a lot more goals next season. I think if it was this season, we'll predict in the previous season, I should say, when Stockport won it, Bournemouth with this side and no cup one, I think would have got into the playoffs, bringing in players like Danny Elliott. But I think the strength of the league this season, although we've lost Stockport, is a lot stronger than last season, I have to say. Moving on to 7th then, we've both agreed again on Dagenham.
Yeah, again, obviously thinking along the same lines. Yeah, I think they're just going about. A lot of people have had them a bit higher. I think they've got enough to get in there. Just about. I think they've added some really good players. Tavares, Long King as well. I think I've got that right. There's the 2 defensive additions. They've got some good players like Marias as well. They've got good players all over the pitch. So pretty natural to put them in there, to be honest. And Miles Weston, former Notts player a long time ago. He's still going strong. A player that I really like. So yeah, I think they're going to sneak in there.
Dagenham for me 7th. I don't think they can afford to not get in the playoffs this season. The investment that they keep putting into the squad every single season, and they keep narrowly missing out on the playoffs. They have to get playoffs this season. You look at Dagenham as a club, though, they are a big club at this level. I think we'll all agree based on their Football League history and stuff like that. Paul McCallum, he can score goals. I can't say anymore. He's prolific on his day. Yeah. Having a striker like that will be enough for them to get in the playoffs. They've made, I think they haven't done too much business, but the business they have done has been so good, I have to say. Omar Musa from Weymouth last season. On paper, when you look at his statistics, he doesn't look too good. However, I've seen him in person. You can sort of tell that he's a quality player, and in a better Dagenham side, I'm sure he'll succeed. Tavares as well from Wealdstone, I think will be a good player for them next season. They're a good side, Dagenham, I have to say, and I think next season will be a good season for them. And I think playoffs, I can just see them sneaking in for Dagenham. So moving on to 6th then, I can say we've finally differed. You've gone for Southend and I've gone for Bromley.
Yeah, I think we've both probably got Southend in the playoffs. I haven't heard you talk about them yet. Yeah. So a lot of people are very high on them this season. I'm not as confident as others. I did flirt with them not going in there, but I had to put them in just to cover my own back, really, because they look so strong. They've had such good transfer business. Mooney from Altrincham is an unbelievable signing. They just have quality players, really, quality signings, and there's a reason people are so excited about them. And I've had to just put them in there just to save my own skin, because if I don't put them in the playoffs, and they're dark horses to win the league, so I had to put them in there. But I'm not as confident as others are about them. But they're a good side.
Yeah, they're a good side, and I'll talk about them in a little while. But like the transition they had under Ma, who came in last season, just showed how strong they were during that the winter months where they did really show their strength. I've gone for Bromley then. I don't know if this is a shock. I don't know if anyone's really predicting them. I know someone said the other week Bromley for the playoffs, and I was a bit like, I don't know. But I looked in the long run when I was doing my research on them. Obviously, Adam Marriott, everyone knows about that. 17 goals he got last season. Michael Cheek, 17 goals. 2 prolific goal scorers there. They're a good structured side, I have to say. Bromley, they've kept that core of the squad from last season. Andy Woodman's a quality manager. Obviously, he was linked with the Gillingham job, and I think a lot of problems went behind the scenes with that, and that was probably their downfall of the season, which usually seems to happen for Bromley. They start the season strong, looking like they're going to get in the playoffs, and then they seem to fall off for the second half of the season, unfortunately. But yeah, keeping that squad together, I think Suwamye, I think it is at centre half. I've always liked him as a centre back when I've seen him. Michael Cheek as well. Harry Foster's a young, hungry wing back. I think he will have a breakthrough season this season. Keep an eye out for him. Chris Reynolds from Dagenham as well. David Smith, I haven't even mentioned, from Folkestone's 29 goals he scored last season. Although that is, I think, 2 leagues below Folkestone. I think, he's sort of a backup if, Cheek or Marriott aren't particularly being prolific next season. But yeah, Bromley's a side for me. Even players like Bush, I think, are a side for me that are good, strong, and have kept that side together, which I think is important and key for a side to keep a squad together from last season to build on. And the additions they've made for me have been quality. And I think Bromley, for me, will get into those playoffs next season. So moving on to 5th then. You've gone for Solihull and I've gone for Southend.
Yeah, Solihull. I'll let you do a lot of talking about them later. But I think that they might not react as well as some people think they will to the playoff loss. I think they're still a very strong side. Brought Josh Kelly in, Alex Reid up front as well. The great additions up top. They lost Carl Hudlin, but I think they've replaced him with better strikers. Ardley's a good manager, obviously known well from his time at Notts. But yeah, Solihull, they lost the playoff final. And we've seen the last couple of years, the teams that lost the playoff final have dropped right off. You mentioned Torquay earlier, haven't recovered yet. But I think Solihull have got more about them than that. I think they'll come again strong. I think Boot's going to be starting in goal again this season. I actually quite rate him as a keeper. So I think they're a good side. But they've put it on paper, probably one of the top 3 sides. But I've gone for 5th because of the playoff loss, and they might have a little slower start to the season.
I think you've took the same look as what I did with Torquay the season. They failed miserably in the playoffs. But yeah, I've gone for Southend then. They're a good, strong side. Some may say the transfer business they've done hasn't been exceedingly strong and the quality isn't to the same standards as the other so-called big sides like Chesterfield's, Wrexham's, Notts Counties. However, they've made some interesting additions, I have to say, for Southend. Kevin Marr as a manager had an impact on them when he came in last season, secured a 13th place, which was quite impressive considering how they started, and he didn't bring in too many players in January. 18th they were when he came in, brought them back to 13th, and there was a big gap from the sort of like 18th to 13th. That is quite a big gap considering points from last season. Harry Cardwell wasn't prolific last season, however, I liked him and I thought he was strong and backs into defenders, which creates space for others. I think he'll get more goals this season. They sort of lacked an entertaining player that take players on last season. I think Dan Mooney will be that coming from Altrincham. Rhys Murphy's proven before he can score goals. I think in a better side this season he will score goals. Calvin Miley as well from Eastleigh, a good player. Harry Taylor from Barnet. The list goes on. Even Fonga as well, who they've signed from Barnet. Yep. There's still, I think they're still there to make more signs. I think they've just made one tonight as well. Comes from a couple of leagues below. I can't pronounce his name, but he's signed as well, hasn't he? I think he got like 21 goals in the Premier something, and 2 leagues below, I think it is. I think Southend will be strong next season. I think the size of the club, they can't afford to not get in the playoffs this season. I think a 5th place finish for them is very strong next season. And I think in the playoffs they could also be strong. So yeah, I think this is the last, sensible sort of placement I think I've put aside, because I will give you a bit like a sneak preview. Some are going to start disagreeing now with some of my predictions, starting with this one. You've gone for Bromley and I've gone for Chesterfield.
Yeah, well, I'll be quick so you can talk about Chesterfield. But for Bromley, I'm just a big fan of Andy Woodman. I think he's a great coach. He did brilliantly to win the FA Trophy last season. I think you mentioned it. His head was turned by another job, and that's what caused a downturn in form. I think on paper they've got one of the strongest squads. They've got Marriott and Sheik up front. What a shot partnership that'll be. Chris Bush in centre half for Sumney as well, like you said. So I think I'm just a huge fan of Andy Woodman and his side. I think they're brilliant. But I'll let you go on with Chesterfield because that fourth is quite low.
Cheers. I've gone for Chesterfield. Huge investment this season, I have to say. I think there's been 3 clubs that really pushed the boat out, haven't they? And that's Chesterfield, Wrexham and Notts with the signings that they've made. Paul Cook has a full summer to bring his own players in, which we've sort of seen, where last season he came in under difficult circumstances. I think now, for the full season, the players he's brought in will be a more successful season. Dobra from Ipswich excites me. He actually had a link with Brighton, I think, a couple of seasons ago, where they came in and had an offer. Ollie Banks, previously been with the club, he's a fan favourite at Chesterfield. I'm sure he'll be good in the midfield. Horton, Shackelford, wing-backs they've brought in. Odalaka as well from Dorking, based on what I've seen from the documentary. Seems to be a good signing for them. Michael Gassy, it's a bit of a chancer sort of signing. Had spells at Kings Lynn when he was on at Kings Lynn and went on loan to Dover last season, especially that Wrexham game where I think he scored 3 or 4 goals. Anyway, it's still good, whatever. But yeah, it seems to be a good player too. There's a lot of players coming back from injury, and this is the one thing I will say. Obviously, goal scorer Tishamanga. Will he be the same player? That's the thing I want to say, and I don't think he will. I think if he is, I'd actually put Chesterfield top. If I could guarantee to you he'd have the same impact on what they had last season, Tishamanga, I would definitely say Chesterfield would win the league. However, now I don't think they will. With him coming back from injury, he's going to be the same player. The players they've brought in are good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're at the same standards as the sides that I'm going to put above them this season, unfortunately. But I think the top 4 will be up there, and I think it will be very, very close until the end of the season compared to 5th, where I think there'll be a bit of a gap there. So moving into 3rd now, and I'm actually quite nervous to pick this one because there's going to be a lot of angry Welshmen coming after me, I have to say. Tom, I'll allow you to go first and on Chesterfield.
Yeah, you've covered most of it there. I think they've done some brilliant business. Dobra in is great signing. He said Gassy as well. Yeah, what a sign. That is a bit of a chance to sign him. I think he'd be brilliant. They signed young lad from Matlock as well, winger. who looks really, really exciting, pacey. They've added all the key areas. Bailey Clements at left back as well. Added some real Paul Cook signings, and Coverland in goal as well. I think he's an upgrade on Loach, who's gone to Derby. But Chesterfield, truthfully, I think they might finish second. But I couldn't bring myself to put them above Notts as a Notts fan, so had to put Notts above them. But truthfully, I think that maybe they will finish second. But I've had to go for Notts higher than them. But Chesterfield, Undercook should be exciting. And as you say, Kabongo, if he can score the goals like he did last season, he's still not quite fully fit, I think, but he is. He's obviously the best striker in the division, and if he's on form, then they're going to be tough to stop.
Yeah, Wrexham. I find it quite hard to put Wrexham in third, I have to say. You look at them last season, that second half of the season, the players they brought in January, wow, the impact they had. It was like sort of Ollie Palmer, Paul Mullin were more prolific in that second half of the season. Ben Tozer's long throw, they really knew how to take advantage of that on the other sides. The players have brought in this season, Elliot Lee, big name, previously been with Luton. I think he's sort of wanting to come to Wrexham, sort of have the same impact on what he had at Luton when they were in the lower leagues. I think some Wrexham side that look at Luton and inspire to be like them with the investment and probably even go further in the long run. Turncliffe as well, centre-half, good centre-half. However, the sides that I've put above them, we know who they are. They're Notts County and Solihull. It's just an opinion, and it's quite hard for me to put them here. However, Phil Parkinson, he doesn't always get it right, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Wrexham. And will that be a good thing? I don't think so. And when I think of Wrexham, I think as a Halifax fan, I very much want to beat Wrexham next season. They're the side you want to beat. Everybody wants to beat Wrexham because of the investment that they've had. Is that going to be a weakness for them when, sides are coming out guns blazing at them? I think so. It will be a weakness. And Phil Parkinson, for me, I don't think he's the right man for the job. And I think a lot of people will disagree with this. But last season, Wrexham should have probably won the league. Or if they didn't win the league, they had to go through the playoffs. They didn't. Yeah. They've kept Parkinson in. Is that going to be a mistake? Well, that'll come to see further on in the season. So, I do apologise to Wrexham. I don't have a problem with you before people say you put them there because I have a problem with them. I do not have a problem with Wrexham. It's all about opinions. So, please don't unsubscribe if you have any Wrexham fans who are watching. Second, then, this is actually very hard as well because of who I'm going to put top. We've both agreed with Notts County then. So, I'll allow you to talk a little bit about Notts County.
Yeah, well, it's a team that I follow, and perhaps I've been a bit biased by putting them this high up, but we've had some brilliant business system. I think while we've been recording this, Cal Roberts has actually left. My mate has texted. I think he's confirmed. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not been able to check, but I had text to say gone. So I think they have gone. I think he has gone, which is a huge loss. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but the players have bought in. Sam Austin will probably replace him. Kevin Scott, Langstaff got the goals in them. Baldwin and Badrami at centre half, two quality centre backs, and obviously Adabel Rowland as well at right wing back, replacing Jen Richardson. So, hopefully the new manager can do the business. Really, really excited for this season, and we never know. I hope we win the league, but I think second is. I'd be happy with second considering who I've got top, but an outside chance to win the league for us.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think Notts County's been the season where the players that they've brought in have been significant compared. It's been that transfer window where it's been probably the most impressive since they've come down to the National League. Phenomenal depth compared to other sides, even the big sides in the division. The amount of players they have, if the players injured, they can fill that in. I think they'll be strong during the winter months as well when, smaller sides sort of weaken because of injuries and tiredness, etc. I think Notts County will be. You've got different sort of teams that you can play. Luke Williams, a manager for me, unexperienced, yes, but I think he'll be successful. They've got players like Palmer, Austin, who's obviously coming to the side. Kyle Cameron's still there alongside Brisbane. Bajramo as well is also coming from Kidderminster. Rodriguez still with the club. Obviously, I've just confirmed now, Cal Roberts has actually left the club, which is a big loss. But I look at the players that they've brought in at Notts County. I think it's enough to, not, sort of lose him. I think Rodriguez still there's quality. I think he was my favourite Notts player last season when I looked at them. And even keep playing lads and bringing in players like Langstaff and Scott. 52 goals between themselves last season.
Exactly.
The only thing is, they haven't done it in the National League before. However, based off pre-season and what I've seen, obviously against Leicester, how well they've both done, I cannot see this really going wrong for Notts County.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think second place would probably be okay for Notts County. I did initially have them to win the league, but there was a signing the other day that sort of made me reconsider. And yeah, I think it's going to get a lot of stick in the comments, I have to say. But yeah, winning the league then. You've gone for the Welsh Wrexham, and I've gone for Solihull Moors, which is quite hard to say, I will admit.
Yeah, well, it's a shock pick, but thinking about it a while, I've worked out who'd got top. Think about it more and more. I do quite like it as an outside shout. I'll let you talk about them, but their forward options are actually really exciting with what they've got. I didn't even mention Joe Sparrow. I've said his name wrong definitely, but before. But I'll let you talk about him in a sec. But very quickly on Wrexham, it's been talked to death. They're the favourites with the bookies. The best, I think, the shortest odds outside the Premier League ever. Well, definitely recent times. Unbelievable investment. Everyone wants to beat Wrexham, but I think they are the title favourites for a reason, and I've had to put them first. Again, to come my own back because I can't not put them first, because to bet against Wrexham this season, doing it last season was one thing, but this season now Stockport are out of the division, and the sides that dropped in aren't as good as Stockport. I think Wrexham, they've got the ability to run away with it, to be honest. But whether they will or not, it's a tough league. But they are a quality side.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that. But like I've mentioned, I think the top four is going to have a big gap compared to below that. Solihull then, it's a difficult one where to place them, I will admit. A lot of people are saying not even playoffs based off them losing in the final. Will they be able to get over that? Some people are saying just inside the playoffs. I've put them first, which I don't think I've seen one person, put them first. I'm guessing the explanation has to be good to put them first. I will say that. But they've kept the squad together, which is key. It's something that obviously Wrexham have done. They haven't sort of raided the market, I would say, Wrexham, with the players they've brought in. They've made only 2 or 3 signings, I think they have at this moment in time. Solihull have been very similar with that. They've kept Sabara and Dowles, which is something that Halifax haven't done with, like, keeping Waters, players like that.
Yeah.
They were probably the duo of the season, I would say, last season. 37 goals between them. Neil Ardley, a manager that I think is brilliant. He's a great manager at this level, experienced. Did okay with Notts. I think, did he get you to the playoff final and then lost there?
Yeah, unlucky to lose it, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a decent manager. Getting Notts to a playoff final, when you look back now at side coming back down to the National League, he did okay, I think, at Notts County.
Better than he thought.
Yeah, better. And I think a lot of people maybe now think of that and think, yeah, Neil Ardley was a good manager. Like I said, kept the squad together. Alex Reid, previously proven that he can score goals at this level from Stockport. Josh Kelly's the signing for me. Wow, he's from Maidenhead. 15 goals in a weak Maidenhead side. We'll all agree. I think Maidenhead side can agree. Last season, they were a weak side, and he was that sort of standout player.
And in a strong
Solihull side, there's so much creativity now for Solihull. So many options, I have to say, with keeping that duo up front and keeping the defence together. I think Solihull will be very strong, and I think he will be one of the key players this season. Callum Howe, still there, I think is a great centre-half. They've added depth like Joey Jones. Defensively, he's come from Dagenham. St. Kellier as well, he's been at Wrexham in the past. He's a good player. These are all good players at this level. They've got a squad together now that if they stay strong and they stay together, and they've got quite a bit of depth as well, I think Solihull can actually go on and win the league. We've seen in the past Harrogate, Bauer, Sutton all go up, and they've never been predicted to go up. Where you look at the squads that season, you think, oh yeah, I can see why they've gone up. I'm hoping at the end of the season, which I still think is very unlikely. However, I do have a feeling this could happen. Solihull will win the league. The only thing for me is obviously you're losing the playoff final. Are you going to be able to get over that? It takes quite a lot of strength to get over that, even with the players they've brought in. But yeah, I think Solihull will be strong this season. I just think a lot of people don't predict them to do as well as what we expect, and don't want to disrespect like Solihull here, is because of the crowds that they get compared to the bigger sides. Established wise, they're not as big club as like Wrexham, Notts County, Chesterfield, even like your Halifaxes, your Aldershots, your Torquays. But the squad they've got is to match, I think, Wrexham, Notts County, Chesterfield, and I think they could win the league, which is obviously a big statement. But yeah, finally then, we've both said you've gone for Wrexham to win the league and I've gone for Solihull Moors. We've relegation-wise, I think we both said Maidenhead, didn't we? Was it Weeks? I said, yeah, a few more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Tom, I do really appreciate you coming on tonight's edition. Thank you for putting yourself in a bit of danger during the comments. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Tom, and I'd happily have you on again.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Cheers for having me, and it's been great. And I'll happily come on again. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. And cheers to everyone who has tuned in when this is set as a premiere. Get your thoughts below in the comments. It's much appreciated. Also, subscribe, even if you're a Wrexham fan and you disagree with what I've said, because there's a lot more content and a lot more guests to also bring on. Also, drop a like. It will be much appreciated. And I'll see you next week, which will be our preview for the 22-23 campaign opening fixtures. Tom, I appreciate you coming on tonight.
No worries, mate. Cheers.